Welcome to day 2 of the F-14A Tamiya kit. Got a little head start this morning. Went ahead and put a little bit more Mr. Surfacer 1500 black on a bunch of the pieces. The cockpit, just added a little bit more on here, and then we got over here all the landing gear bays that we missed last night because we didn't have enough paint made up. So we got that, and then here we go, pre-shading some black for the landing gear and the intakes on this here. So kicking off day 2, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do a little more painting here. We're going to go to the intake fans, which were primed last night, and I'm going to use some Alclad. This is stainless steel. It's a nice dark metal, and let's get it on. All right, well, while I'm shaking up the paint, I thought I'd show you. This is the paint stand over here. It's I'm in the garage, so it's pretty messy. I hate to say that. One of these days I'll build an actual room in the house when there's the availability to do so. But for now, this is what we got. Rocking Creos. This is Mr. Hobby's airbrush line. I got a 267.2 here and a 0.3. This is the 274.3. I'm going to use that for the metallics. All right, this should go quick and easy. Let's get a good stop in here. We're fairly light on the metallics to start, and just get a nice good base coat on here. That's it. Boom. Metallics are done. The primer's on. Now it is time to paint the cockpit stuff. We're going to be using SMS Dark Gold Gray FS36-231. This is the same color that's painted for all U.S. aircraft for, well, in the modern and semi-modern time frame. I usually actually use neutral gray. I find that dark gold gray, while it's correct, is really dark in scale, and I always feel like it gives it too dark of a look. So I switched over to neutral gray. However, this is stuff I just got shipped. I bought a new stock of SMS stuff. This is out of Australia. Love the paint. It goes on beautifully. I actually, in a lot of ways, like it better than MRP. It's a little, it's more paint, less ink, a little thicker. You can paint it straight, which I do, but you can also thin it quite a bit. Where I find when you thin MRP, it becomes more of a filter. So we're going to give this a try for the first time. Dark gold gray. We've got the 0.2 Mr. Hobby airbrush in here, and here we go. Let's give it a shot. So it goes on beautifully. It's just like any other paint in terms of like Mr. Color, Mr. Paint. Goes on just super smooth. I'm shooting this at 12 psi, and man, it coats quick and easy. He's covering up all the black pre-shade. We'll just keep this a little light. I actually, if I did this again, I actually would thin it down a little bit just to make it a little thinner and give me a little more working time. Let's go ahead and hit the cockpit area now. Getting into some of these areas is a little tricky. So the top of this back area in the F-14 is going to be black. We're going to come back and shoot that again later. For now, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just getting all the gray paint on, and then we'll come back and we hit the black areas later on. Let's see if we can see this here. What I decided to do actually was I was going to use a decal originally, but in this case I just masked the foot areas where there's usually non-skid for the pilot. The Rio has it too, but we're not going to worry about that for now with the pilot. Normally I use decals out of the Fighter Town decals data set, but I thought it'd be fun, a little bit more fun to paint this one. So mask that up real quick, and we can get back to spraying our gray. I'm not hitting the actual panels themselves. I'm just getting the edges of the panels because we're going to go ahead and use that Quinta stuff is going to cover up. We are going to get the edges of them though, just so things blend in. And even though Quinta has done a great job of trying to match colors, they don't always work. So I'm going to show you a little trick in a minute for how to deal with that. I'm not really getting the shading here with the black as much. I'm kind of, the paint is a little heavier there, a little thicker I should say, than if I were using something like MRP. So we're just going to go with it. That's what I love about Amazon packages. Endless supply of cardboard. A little bit of masking on the pilot panels just to keep the areas black that need to be black. And for the Rios panel, we don't really need much. We're just going to hit these underside areas, and that just screwed up. Whoops. All right, well, we're going to have to come back for black for that. Oh, well, it happens. The cockpit is painted dark gold gray. So let's pull out our masking a little bit here. See what we got. Looks good. I like it. I'm going to work with that a little bit more. But for now, I think that's a nice base. Looks good. We're ready for Quinta stuff. Pull off a few more of these masking points here. A little bit of overspray right back in here. We'll come back and fix that up later. But for now, I think that's good. And with these, with our sidewalls, we're not going to actually paint this. We're just going to use a wash to kind of bring out some color. And let's do that as soon as the paint dries. We're back with the engine faces. I'm going to give these just a little bit more detail. Even though I like the stainless color on this, and we'll give it a wash, I just wanted to give a little bit more definition. So I've masked off a little bit here. Oh, this is going to, we'll fix that up. We're just going to shoot this from the side with Alclad's dull aluminum. So I like the way that this looks. We're going to just hit it from the side. So a little hard to see with as we go, but again, these things are going to be buried in the intakes, but the F-14 does have some big intakes, so we'll get to see these at the end. Sometimes with metals, I just spray off to the side to make sure I'm actually getting the color out of there. So it's so subtle. All right, so we can see from the side my masking sucked and I used too thick of a tape along here, but when we look down straight, you just can't tell. So we're gonna call it done. Actually, no, we're not. Even though I say good enough is good enough, it really isn't. Good enough is never good enough. So we're gonna do this. And when it's right, then it will be good enough. Okay, now, much better. Now, next step is going to be prepping the parts for the Quinta decals. We did a bunch of painting on here, so I want to remove some of the paint just to give the best adhesion surface for the decals. In the meantime, this video is brought to you by my 1.5-year-old daughter Isla and her nap time. It's only because that she's napping that I'm able to get some time at the workbench today. So for those of you out there, the idea of 1 hour a day, 30 minutes a day, 5 hours a day, whatever you can do when you want a model, get to it and get it done. I'm just going back over it with the knife. And this is probably not the best way to do it, but we're going to put the decals on here. So I want a surface that's free of paint for adhesion. Actually, this is a terrible way to do it. Here, let's see what this does. Here we go. All right, we're going with the knife technique after all. And try not to get anything on the edges where I want to keep the gray. Let's go ahead and do the sidewalls here. We're going to be using panel accent color and brown. And the idea here is we're just going to stain these. These were basically vinyl coverings. They kind of ranged in different colors, but they originally were painted in the dark gold gray of the cockpit. So let's start with this. We're just going to kind of basically use it like a filter. I'm not going to worry too much about getting too much color on there because I don't want to wipe away too much. So we'll come back after this, make some more detail stuff on there. But the idea is just to give it this weathered, dirty look from the original dark ghost gray. And that is all we need to do. Like that. I'm going to take our Q-tip. I'm not even going to dip it in mineral spirits. I'm just going to kind of give it a bit of a wipe and get kind of the high points off of there. We can come back later with mineral spirits and give it a little bit better, but I actually really like the way this is coming out. So I think we're just going to work with this. And there. That looks good for now. Circuit breaker panels, instead of using the decals, which are perfectly good and they look amazing, but I just kind of like this look and I'm lazy, so we're going to go ahead and use panel liner black. Let's get a good shake on that. There we go. Now with this, get more of it off there, and we're just going to tap it in between for now. Get that black in there. Another little layer, and that is all we're going to do for that. Okay, I'm sure you guys have all seen these before, but we're just going to do this anyways. Feel free to fast forward if this is something you've already seen and don't need to see again. But I'm just going to cut up all the pieces. In fact, I don't even need to separate these really from this much. The way we're going to start this is I got a little bowl of warm water. I'm going to use a paper towel. You don't even need to dip these. All you need to do is get them damp and they come off the backing paper. There's very little adhesive to them, so you want to use either PVA glue or CA glue. I just can't stand using CA glue if I can avoid it. I don't like it. So I have these two options here. We've got, whoops, right in the water. Let's try that off. Thin blend, perfect for PE. This is Gator's Grip and MIG Ammo Ultra Glue. I think it's all pretty much the same. I know Gator's Grip, he blends his stuff specifically, and Ultra Glue is pretty much just like any other PVA glue. So they're all pretty much the same. They all work about the same. As far as I can tell, I could be wrong, but I'm going to pick one and go with it from there. And all I'm going to do here is actually I'm just going to wet my paper towel. This is warm water. I'll wet my paper towel down and put this on here, and it will just absorb. Let's see, you can see the backing paper change to the darker blue because it's getting wet. And as soon as that happens, because I don't use the limited adhesive that's actually on the decals, I can take all these off at the same time and be just fine. We're going to get a little bit more on here actually. Dip that straight on. Make sure the water works its way around all the decals. A wet palette would be perfect for this, but I don't have one, so we'll just go with what we got. Okay, so my demo pick here, let's go ahead, we'll get a little bit of light glue on there, and we're going to start in the front, and we're just going to put a good amount on there. Nice thing about this is it's water soluble, so cleaning up is not a big deal. So we have the glue on here. Right there, I'm going to use a Q-tip just to kind of press it into place. damp that Q-tip a little bit and just magically remove the excess PVA glue. Okay, I had to do these off camera, using the Optivisor to get in there a little tighter, but this is where we are at now. I just don't think there's anything that looks better than this. So they've got my business indefinitely at this point. So, well, I figured out why this part did not fit. And this is a problem with sometimes knowing your subject a little bit too well and not reading the instructions. I put it in upside down, and now what I have is an extra piece here that should go up here, and this piece that is there should go down here. So that one's on me. Haven't quite figured out how I want to do this because those parts are glued really firmly to the cockpit. I have plenty of other sets of these. I just really don't want to break into it and make it do another one and use up another one, because then I can't use it on another kit. So I'm going to see if I can't at least cut this piece off here, cut this part off, use this part to fill in, and then maybe even just paint this part black back here. That would be better than nothing. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that really sucks when you screw something like that up. But hey, you know what? It's going to be great for the lessons learned at the end of this project. Let's see how this goes. Well, that actually came off easier than I thought. Of course, the other problem with this is that the rest of this panel is backwards. So if someone really wants to get in there and check the switchology, I have screwed it up. Well, success. And we're going to see how this one works, because this part is backwards. But yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to do about that right now. For now, I'm going to let it go. Moving on to the next thing. Well, I decided I couldn't live with this problem over here, with this panel being wrong. So I went and dug out my collection of Quinta stuff. So here's another set, and right off the bat, I noticed this piece is missing, which means I have made this mistake before. Next step, let's do some intakes. So what we've got here is I'm using Mr. Color Off-White. Got it mixed up in the cup here, and some Mr. Leveling Thinner. And what I'm going to do with this is hit the intakes. We're going to give them kind of an early coat now, and then I'll go back after we attach them, clean up the seam, and add the rest then. So I love this off-white. It's kind of a cream white. It is perfect for exactly this, for intakes that they're not gloss white. I'll do a little bit of pre-shading here just for a weathering effect. This is mixed with probably about maybe 50-50, maybe 60% Mr. Leveling Thinner. The inside of the intakes now. We're just going to do the back section of this, where the demarcation line. So the front of this is going to actually be in gloss white, or actually insignia white. And the back area is going to be this off-white color. Next up is gloss white. It's actually cool white from the GX line, Mr. Color GX. And this is going to be the landing gear bays. And I have kind of one of two ways that my gloss whites go. Either it's too thin and it becomes runny, or it's thicker and it kind of shoots out a little drier on me. This one looks like it's going to be the drier and thicker. Oh yeah, note to self, when you're painting this, don't touch the, don't hold the airplane where you already painted, as if you can see it, but right there is a nice fingerprint. I was holding it when I painted the off-white. One nice thing about having this primed in black and shooting from the top down is you do preserve some of the shadows the black created. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm going to move on to the landing gear for the front door, the front bays. We got some stuff going on in the intakes. I'm using Mr. Weathering Color matte umber, and we just kind of, you can see there, just kind of put some in there. We're going to use some mineral spirits to do a little bit of weathering, and because I don't want to dip the brush right into the mineral spirits because it is dirty, I've got these cool clear trays from Tamiya. Thank you, George, from Tamiya. This is actually the first time I'm using them, so let's just put some mineral spirit in here. Let's take our intake and get a little bit in here, dab it off, and then we're just gonna kind of go to work with it. Just kind of filter it in. We're just kind of making it a little bit grimy here. The intakes are tough to see, but the F-14 does have such a big intake that I'll just kind of make it a little bit of shadow in there. This is not a very good brush to do what I'm doing, but it gets the job done. Let's add some streaking. Put down the intake. I definitely recommend only doing this with gloss paint. Flat paint looks very different. Well, this brush that I've been using really doesn't work, so let's get rid of that. And picked up one of these, the workbench box, and let's see what this one does. I think this one will work a lot better. Oh yeah, so much better. All right, hard to see, but that's the idea. When it dries, it'll be awesome. And I think we've got a winner. Time to move on. All right, we're going to finish up with the intakes. I just glued in to kind of blend those in together and maybe a little bit more weathering. We got to finish up the fans so we can seal those in. And for that, we're going to go black panel liner from Tamiya. And we're just going to kind of give it a nice, just going to hit all the edges around here. Let it soak in. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's give the whole thing a layer of black. There we go. Well, this one already came off the spruce. It's going to be a little tougher. There we go. Now, let that dry for a few minutes. We'll take our Q-tip, just get it a little damp. And I think what we do is just kind of tap at it a bit. Back to this. Honestly, I went to Home Depot and bought a whole container of it for just a few dollars. And I just keep filling up this little jar with it. All right, here we go. So we're just gonna tap along as we go. This is just giving it a nice little, somewhat uniform, but the tapping on this, the Q-tip kind of breaks it up. Now we're gonna just hit the bullet dome. Now that we have some ink on there, it just gives it a nice little bit of weathering. And again, these are going to be so far down the intake, we're barely going to see it. But I like the way this looks. All right, boom, done. Here we go. Put that in there. Look down the hole. Good luck. Just to finish this up, one little point I wanted to show you from the other day when we did insignia white, or gloss white. I keep saying insignia white. Gloss white and off-white for the intakes. Hopefully you can see the difference. So what we have here is, this is a GX1 Mr. Color gloss white. This is Mr. Color, I think it was 69, C69, and off-white. Once again, off-white. Gloss white. There you go. That's the difference. Looks cool. All right, just for fun, now that we're kind of wrapping up the end of the second evening, although really only had about an hour and a half to do anything today, let's take a look at the workbench. Yesterday, we started off with a pretty much completely clean workbench, and now, there we go. We got instructions, which we rarely use, some intakes, all of our cockpit parts, boat tails and missile racks, the main box, assemblies over here, more cockpit stuff, my messy area that I like to spray paint on the desk, and pulling out, there you go. There's the wall of paints. Unfortunately, I moved into this house that has a much smaller garage than I was previously working in, so we only have 4 racks of paints here. If we look down here, there's 2 racks of paints down there. Spin around is a total mess right now. Baby strollers. Paint. And coming up here, that has more paint and some Star Wars figures of all things. So there is the current state of the disaster in the garage. Hopefully clean that up. Oh, and then over here is the Catran exhausts. Got a little head start earlier in the week to work on those. So join us for day 3. Let's see. You never know what might happen.